I've been living an absolute nightmare over the last 4 years, and that nightmare is called the night shift. I started in 2021, and ever since then, it's been rough. Not just sleep, but just the entire lifestyle, like of just being up during the nighttime and going to bed in the early afternoon. It's not an easy life. That's all I'm gonna say, and it's definitely taken its toll. At the same time, it's easy for me to blame all my problems on working the night shift when a lot of the big issues that I have right now have really started before I started working this job. The reason why I took the night shift in the first place is because of the money. I mean, why does anyone take any job? Because it pays more than working in the daytime in most of the jobs in the area that I live in. And even now, like with jobs that want a college degree, pay less. A lot of them pay less than what I make at the job that I work at, doing just like manual labor shit all night long. And I have a college degree, by the way. So it's like, it's like in the sense that I feel like I failed because I have this college degree that so much time and effort and money was put into that degree, and it's I've never used it despite graduating over 5 years ago now. So that's one thing that kind of gnaws at me, like that really bothers me when I think about the place that I work at and what I do for a living. That's one thing. The other thing is just yeah, you don't feel like a normal person just in general. But, having those hours and having the days off that I have Thursday, Friday off, but the way that it goes every single week is that I come home Thursday morning. I usually stay up all day long because I'm wired up because I'm like, oh, I'm finally off. I have 2 days off. So I do whatever, make content or whatever it is I decide to do. Then by 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I pass out and I wake up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning, and then I'm still kind of like recovering, like from the sleep and everything, because my body's trying to like readjust. And so Friday, like all day, I just feel off. Like it's my day off, but I just don't feel right because my body is just trying to, like I said, readjust to being off. But I end up like having really bad headache. I end up just not having as much energy as I did actually like on the Thursday when I just worked an entire shift. But I'm like, oh, I'm all like that. That's when I have the most energy is when I just come home from work on Thursday, have my 2 days off, right? And then yeah, Friday I'm just cooked. Like I'm still like, I'm doing things and I'm trying to do whatever I need. But then it's like I'm not really going to go out and do anything for two reasons. One is that by the time it becomes like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when it's usually time that people go out and do shit on a Friday, I'm like ready to go to bed. That's one thing. The other thing is that I don't fucking have any people to fucking do anything with, which is the other problem. I have people that I consider friends at this job. The problem is most of them don't have the same days off as I do. So the way it's structured is that not every employee has the same days off. It's not like a normal place where it's like Saturday, Sunday, right? So it's a lot easier to socialize because obviously, like, like in an office setting or whatever, everyone is off the same time as everyone else. Not in my job. So there's like this, group of people that I consider friends, like that are like the closest friends, I guess you could say, that I have at this job, but they have different days off. They have Sunday, Monday off, right? So they're always doing stuff. They're always hanging out and they're talking about all the things they did, and I'm just left out, obviously, and not because of malice or anything like that. It's not like other stories that I've told in the past where people just said fuck you and they want nothing to do with me and they just leave me out in the cold because they're fucking assholes. It's not anyone's fault. It's just the way, it's just the nature of the job and the way that things are. But it doesn't feel any less shitty. I mean, it feels less shitty because you know that it's not because they hate you or anything like that or have a problem with you. So it feels less shitty, but it still feels shitty, if that makes any sense, even if it's nobody's fault necessarily. So that's a problem that I have. Like, there's someone who I've been good friends with, I would say, for 3 years now. That's how long I've known him. And 3 times in the 3 years that I've known him have we actually done anything outside of work. So that's another thing. My social life is just so beyond fucked, and I feel isolated. I feel alone. I feel like I've got nothing to look forward to. I don't really have much of anything going on, and that leads to a lot of dark thoughts that I, keep trying to fight off. But the longer it gets, the harder it is. Like, I really can't tell you what did I do in 2022, 2023, 2024. Like, I barely have gone out. I've gone out maybe like literally like maybe 3 or 4 times a year, like during these past 4 years. And like my whole sense of time is just beyond fucked. I'm just like fucking blown away by the fact that it's already April 8th. And it's like, yeah, so much of the year is already gone. And I can't name you a goddamn thing that I've done this year. And it's like when the weather gets warmer and it gets nicer. Right now it's fucking snowing, even though it's spring. And it's cold and it's shitty. And I hate when it's cold and shitty. And that definitely leads to that definitely contributes to depression, is when it's just really, really, really fucking cold and you're just miserable and just hate it. But when it gets warm, you see everyone going out, everyone doing things, and all this different. But you're sleeping, or you're off, but you have no one to do anything with. So it honestly doesn't necessarily help my entire my mental state when it gets nicer out and when the summer comes and everything like that, because it kind of just is another reminder of just how fucked my life is and how it's just not normal and it shouldn't be like this. And I've missed out on so many good years that I could have had, but it's gone and it's never coming back. And I'm turning 27 in a few weeks, and it's really starting to set in, like more than it ever did before. Like when I was 23, when I first started working this job, I'm like, okay, I'm 23. I still got time to do. But when you're like 27, even though it's only 4 years, like when you're in your 30s and your 40s and especially your 50s and 60s, 4 years is like whatever, right? As long as you're still in good health and everything. 4 years doesn't really feel like much of nothing. But when you're in your 20s and it's a time of your life that's romanticized by society, it's like the most important time of your life is what it's always referred to as, and it's just I have nothing to show for it at all. And that, I guess I could partially attribute to the night shift, but it's also like, I've had social problems. I've had issues making friends and maintaining friendships and relationships, and all these issues, all these problems that I have, just feeling lesser than everybody else, it goes way back to the 7th grade. So it's easy for me to scapegoat the night shift and be like, well, this is the reason why. If I'm going to be honest with myself, it's a lot more complicated than that. And honestly, it's kind of like out of fear, like of me not leaving this job, because if I leave this job, right, because subconsciously I could at least partially blame, some of my issues on working the job that I work. But then I go to a day shift job and the same problems persist, then it just kind of affirms what I really think about myself, is that I'm just not as good as everyone else, and I have all these problems because I'm just a fucked up person and no one wants to fuck with me. And that's not going to change based on the hours of the day that I work. So it's like I feel trapped. Every single day I'm just tired, I'm exhausted, my body's beaten up, and I just honestly, I thought I just worked this whole shift last night. Right now, as I'm recording this, it's 12:30 in the afternoon, and I'm sitting in my car because I want to do the, what I usually do, like the outdoor vlog, but it's just so fucking cold and so fucking shitty. And the house right now is just kind of like, a little dirty, and I want it to be more presentable on camera. So here's my little shitty car. But it's my entire shift last night, I just thought about death the entire time, about how it would be so much better for everything to just end than me to continue living like this. Like, I cannot imagine me doing this for another year, 2 years, 3 years, or beyond. It's fucking horrible. I hate my life so much. I mean, there are plenty of times where I've hated my life, but this is like the strongest I've ever felt about it. Because when you're an adult, it kind of hits different than when you're like a teenager going through stuff. It's like, whatever, like you realize like you still have time. When I had those problems in middle school and I wanted nothing else but death, one of the big things that stopped me was like, okay, you're going to be graduating from the school. like pretty soon, and then you're going on to high school, so you have that to look forward to. Like, it's going to end. There is an end point to this. And with high school, I had some big struggles there too, not necessarily to the same degree as middle school, where like everyone fucking hated me, everyone wanted me dead in junior high school. In high school, it was a little bit more mixed. There was a lot of negative, but there was definitely a lot more positive. Like, people didn't like fucking bully me and fucking, say all these horrible things to me, at least not to the same level. So it was more manageable, right? And then when college comes along, it's like, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to do, but like, I am going to graduate someday. But now that I'm an adult and now that school is behind me, and like, this is like, you're in the workforce, you're a grown person, you have bills and everything. There's no end in sight. There's no light at the end of the tunnel like there was when I was younger. So I only see one way out of this, and is not very good. That's all I'm gonna say. There's only one thing that I see happening that's gonna put me, that's gonna end everything, like end all the suffering and everything that I'm going through. And it's not getting a new job. It's not doing XYZ things to improve and do all, like, I just think it's cooked at this point. And I'm trying, like, I'm fighting so hard to get out of this situation. I am not at the point where I'm completely given up at this point, but I kind of also have like a timetable in my head of when, if things don't improve within a certain amount of time, I'm just going to deal with it my own way. So that's what I've been struggling with. I've been dealing with mental health issues for a very long time. And I think, maybe another part of it, as far as like whether or not I can blame the night shift or not and working those hours, is sunlight is a very underrated thing, right? I'm not exposed to sunlight as much as I would be otherwise if I work in the daytime, right? So, those chemicals that go into you, like, like the sun rays and everything, like that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Like vitamin D, right? That's what it is? Like, so there may be something to there that may be contributing and amplifying my negative thoughts about myself and about my life and everything else. But I just think looking at it objectively, it's rough. It really is. And one of the big things that's keeping me, besides the money and everything, is that I actually get along pretty well with my bosses and my coworkers for the most part. So that's another thing that's kind of keeping me, because let's say hypothetically, I'm afraid, I'll be honest, like, I'm afraid of moving to a different place, to a different job, because for all I know, what will happen is that I go to the other job and the boss is like the biggest piece of shit possible, like, that you could ever think of. The coworkers fucking hate you and don't want you there. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. That it's like, okay, I don't necessarily have a good thing going. I'm not happy at all. I hate the way that my life, I have nothing to look forward to, like all these different things. But who's to say that all of that's going to suddenly change just because you have a different job? I know life is all about taking risks, right? And just going for it and but it's also like I've fallen into a trap now, because I have this college degree, but I don't have any experience with said degree. So yes, like, there are jobs that like that you don't necessarily need to have a lot of experience in whatever field. You just need to have a college degree. It doesn't even matter what the degree is in. But there's jobs obviously that want like years of relevant experience, and that's one thing that's definitely filtered out, when it comes to the job search and me going on Indeed. There's like so many jobs that I see that it's like I wouldn't even be able to do them even if I even if I wanted to. And that's the other thing about even if I wanted to, is that I see all these jobs out there and I don't even know what I want to do, right? Like, the place that I work at right now is definitely not what I envisioned myself doing. But I ended up also in another situation where my degree, my political science degree, was completely useless, and I kind of made it that way. Honestly, it's a degree that's already like really hard to get a good job and career in. But the fact that I just kind of checked out of politics, like right after I graduated, COVID changed everything for me when it comes to that, and it changed my way of thinking as far as like how I view people and human nature and everything else. And especially the political landscape was just completely, I just was completely disgusted by it, and I wanted nothing to do with it. So I'm just kind of aimless, directionless. I'm kind of just drifting through life. I have nothing that excites me anymore. I'm just kind of on autopilot right now. That's how it's been the last few years. But I've had things that, like, little things that kept me going, like my dog. You know, like, I could be down in the dumps, I could be sitting on the couch or doing whatever and just feeling all sad, and then she gives me that look with those eyes, and she's like, "We're going for a walk." And that alone, like, made a huge difference. It made a huge difference. And then, of course, she passed away last year. So that's one thing. Like, and I lost my father a few years ago. Um and just, like, people who I was friends with, like, in my life previously, when I lived, in my hometown, none of them even bother contacting me or talking to me anymore. I try to message, they just, they're ghost. So all those little things kind of add up and have resulted at a, like, a really, I guess what you would call a breaking point at, like, right now. Where it's just like I am kind of, like, on the edge. I think I'm one major setback away from just completely just fucking snapping and, like, losing my shit. Let me be clear. I would never harm other people or do anything like that. Really, all my anger and frustration and, like, all the negative emotions that I'm feeling, they are pretty much all towards myself and not towards other people or the world or anything else. So I want to make that clear in case, someone somehow stumbles upon this video. I only get, like, 1 or 2 views, on my channel, like, per video. But in case someone is, like, watching this and is, like, starting to get worried, like, what the fuck is he saying? I promise you that nothing like that would ever happen. Ever. I would never commit violence against anyone. Like, I am a very passive person, and I will always be that way. So I just wanted to say that too, because you realize, like, you're kind of just, like, just putting your ideas and your thoughts out there, like, in front of a camera. But what you don't realize is sometimes those words can be taken in other ways that you don't mean for it to be taken. And then, yeah, sometimes you have to do some clarification. So I had to do that. But it's not good. It's not good. I mean, I don't know what I can do to really get out of this situation. I mean, aside from just keep trying to get another job. But it's like I said, I'm like kind of in this position where, like, who's gonna fucking hire me? You know what I mean? Like, it's the economy's not good right now, so it's not necessarily like the job market is all that great. And even, like, during the best of times, the job market is super, super, super competitive, right? So it's like, what do I have to stand out? Not much of anything. So, I don't have any transferable skills. I'm not skilled at anything. I'm not good at anything that's like that an employer would be like, "Oh, we need to hire this guy." So it's a shitty feeling. I'm kind of, like, just down in the dumps right now and just feeling horrible about myself. My self-esteem has probably never been lower than it is currently. And I the whole video is kind of, like, about working nights and how hard it is, and it kind of devolved into something else completely different. But it really is just, like, what you think. Sometimes in life, what you think is the problem, on the surface level, it's kind of like the iceberg, right? Like the iceberg meme, where it's like one, but then below it, below the ocean, it's just, like, so many different layers, and there's just so much other stuff that you don't see, and that it's hard to tell, like, immediately. But it really is just so many different things uh coming at once, and so many different problems that you have that are kind of hiding under the surface. And like, when it comes to social, like, lack of a social life, you could say, that I got going on. uh Dating is not happening. Like, other things, I don't think that's like, oh, I work the daytime now and all those problems are, I don't think that's going to happen. It certainly makes it harder to accomplish those things when you work the night shift. But it's also like, I'm not going to say I have a good thing going, but I have, like, years in this place now. I'm earning vacation at a faster rate than I ever have. But then it's also like, I end up never calling out of work and never taking time off, because when I'm off, I'm by myself in my own thoughts. And it gets fucking scary sometimes when that happens. I had some bad fucking weekends recently where I was just thinking some really, really, really horrible things where I think I'd rather just be at work and be around people. At least that kind of mitigates some of those thoughts. Even though I was still fucking miserable while I was working, I was just like fucking beaten up and just like feeling fucking like every fucking minute of that 8-hour shift. I just was like, fuck this. I just want out of this. Like one way or another, I just want it all to fucking end. I don't even know how to get out of this and what to do. But it's like something's got to give eventually. So I don't know. But it's not the way that I expected things to go. Not the way I expected my life to be. And I'm very, very disappointed. That's like that's an understatement if we're going to be honest. Like if I saw myself 5 years ago and saw this, I don't know how I would react. That's all I'm going to say. It's yeah, life is not easy.